What's up, everybody? I got me a sneak peek at Rogue the American Dream.
Go buy his girlfriend flowers. On the side of the building, there is a spray paint mural that he recognizes. Oh, this looks like Haley painted this. So then it goes like back like whatever, like 12 hours or whatever. It goes 12 hours before. And now you're playing as this deaf girl, and what she's doing is she is covering up ugly graffiti with her good-looking graffiti. And there's 3 different walls that you have to spray paint. The mission was so fucking pointless. It was so tone deaf. Like, ironically,
Literally.
Tone deaf.
Tone deaf.
it was tone
You
deaf.
can't hear.
It was tone deaf because the thing is when you're wearing your headphones and you're playing this, sir, you can't hear jack shit. They purposely make
'Cause
everything
she's
muffled
deaf.
as if you're deaf.
I got this pulled up, by the way. Do you want to see the actual gameplay of it?
Yeah.
Here
Let's
here it
see
is.
Let's
So
see it.
you can actually hear it, or I guess you can hear it. She can't. Here you
Oh,
go.
no.
Riveting.
I got so annoyed and pissed off during this mission.
So I was saying, like, with something like this, by the way, the muffled sound effect is great. My whole thing about this is you're playing as an inner city black deaf girl, right? And that's really narrowing down the diversity aspect of it, right? The idea, like, I don't know many. Like, if you're like, we really want to target the inner city black deaf girl demographic, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, they also need to own a PlayStation 5, and they also need to be really into Spider-Man, and that's who this segment is for.
Yeah.
It just seems
100%.
really silly.
Yeah, 100%.
So to me, those were really the only 2 black guys. Is that one mission where you have to help the gay couple go to homecoming, and then that fucking forced mission where you have to play as a deaf girl. That really fucking irritated me, because the entire time before that, I was loving the game. The story's fantastic, and if you think that this is just Miles 2, like Miles Morales 2, and Peter gets sidelined, that's absolutely not the case. Like, there's actually a section in this game, pretty much the entire second act, where Miles is sidelined, and it's Peter and Harry. Peter and Harry are the combo that you're playing as. You're mostly playing as Peter, and Miles just gets completely sidelined because of a story arc in the game, and then later on, Harry winds up being sidelined because of events that happen. I don't want to get too into spoilers, but if the narrative that this is Miles Morales' second game and Peter's not even in it is just absolutely horseshit. It's just not true. Like, I would say the game is probably about 65% playing as Peter, and then the other is Miles. But you can choose to, like, if you're in between main missions, you don't have to play as Miles at all. You can just play as Peter. You want to web swing and do all the side quests and do random crimes in the city, you can play as Peter. You do not even need to touch Miles, except for when Ripa came into my chat. I'm like, all right, it's time to play as Miles Morales. Like, you got to play as Ripa's
That's really
favorite,
important.
favorite
And-
version. Yeah.
And I know Ripa watched some of Beardo's stream, and obviously you know a lot about it. So what is your feelings on it from what you know about the story's involvement and all that?
I'll tell you what, my issues with the story, literally nobody else is gonna have those, other than like just nerds that are into this shit. Because of just, if you go watch my video, I talked about it. I was actually watching Beardo's video, talking about something I took exception to there, because it's like things that don't make any fucking sense, that has always really frustrated me with this company. They take liberties, but they take them like, I mean, holy shit, like these characters sometimes become unrecognizable. So to me is like, if unless you just like the idea of a character, there's no real incentive there, because you're going to get a completely different version of it. And it's a different universe. It's all this shit that everybody's going to say, when I don't give a shit about that. at all. But look, it's Spider-Man. It's a very easy character to adapt in like video games, right? People love that shit. Everything works well with his powers. So from what I saw from the combat, yeah, it's going to be one of the better combat systems that you're going to see pretty much in any game, especially in a superhero game, is what I picked up from that. Story wise, you know, it's I'm not gonna say I'm wild, but yeah, my issues are gonna be issues that other people don't really have, and that stems from I just don't understand why. It's like maybe it's because of the licensing thing, but with Marvel, DC does this as well. It's like it seems even more than what it has been in the past. Everything is an adaptation,
Yeah.
and it's inaccurate and it's unrecognizable. And I think that is why, unlike manga and anime, when they come out with some media that is outside of the manga, it will sell the manga. And such a relationship does not exist in American. Really, it's not just with comics, but especially with Marvel, DC. They can have a hit game, they can have a hit movie, and you will get zero increase. It's marginal. At best, it will be barely an increase because, well, I'm gonna go watch this or play this game, and then I'm interested. Let's just assume I'm interested, and then I'm gonna go try to find this character in the book, and I'm gonna read a completely different character.
Yep.
It's not gonna be that character. Only it's gonna be that character in name. But I do think, you know, with stuff like I'm doing with the Riververse and stuff that other people are doing creatively, I think that's something worth paying attention to, and don't slack on like the continuity element of everything, because fans actually give a shit about that.
Yep.
And you only win by just, you know, it doesn't have to be a direct 1-by-1, but you only win if you can just say, hey, this has already been established. Why don't we just make a version of that? You can still tell a new story that nobody's read before, but at least the characters are the characters, instead of them just being, hey, there's that character that you recognize, but they're completely different. They just may have the suit, or they may look like it, and that's about it.
Yeah. We got. I know Jay has sent this in the chat. Is that, Jay, the story you put earlier? Is that confirmed about Spider-Man in the Middle East?
Oh,
So
I
far.
believe so. Yeah, I saw
Yeah.
that on Twitter earlier.
Where'd
Do you want to see it?
Yeah. If you can pull that up.
Yeah,
And I think that's one of the problems, like right here. So it's confirmed Spider-Man 2 Middle East version has removed LGBT dialogue, side missions, and all gender spectrum flags. Are you going to insult me too, or accept the corporation see
They
your
just see you as
pure
identity and
money?
pure money. Yeah, basically saying that this is only available, and this is the official statement apparently, that they were able to modify so they could sell it in the Middle East.
Yeah,
So-
and I guess like that's kind of where the big problems come into it, where if you're actively removing things from the game to not offend people in certain areas, do you actually believe in what you're doing? And the answer is obviously no. And that's, again, it's going to be a huge game. I don't know how much the controversy is going to affect the sales of this game. What did Spider-Man 4 or Spider-Man PS4 sell, Beardo? It is like 25 million copies on PS4 or some shit like that.
At the time, it was Sony's biggest exclusive release at the time, and then either God of War, I think, passed it up. Or...
I don't know if God of War passed it. Did it?
Maybe it was Ghost of... I can't remember if it was Ghost or God of War that passed it.
It sold 33 million copies.
33. God of War? I don't think God of War outsold Spider-Man.
I thought, from my memory, I think something passed it up.
Okay, that's insane. And of course, Spider-Man is, I mean, I think we could argue as Batman or Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man's like across the boards the most popular superhero there is,
top
because
three,
he appeals.
even if he's not.
Well, he appeals to younger audiences a little more than Batman, because Batman's more of a mature character. So Spider-Man's the most popular comic book hero in the world. Am I wrong about that? I mean, I think that's kind of, you know, and so
it can go either way, man. I don't know. Batman fucking is insanely popular.
Oh, he absolutely is. He absolutely is
insanely. And if the comics were anything to say, it's gonna be Batman. Like Batman is that's what's gonna sell every fucking time. But
right.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. He's top 3 for sure. It's got to be Superman, Batman,
Batman, and Spider-Man.
Sadly, I would
Superman is more.
Yeah,
I don't think Superman is not as popular international. That's more.
I don't
American.
think Superman.
No,
like
he's more popular internationally.
Superman's my favorite, but like I don't think Superman is like. There's Batman and Spider-Man. I feel are kind of in another tier in terms of popularity. And then Superman's kind of a distant third. It used to be Wolverine. Wolverine used to be up in there for a long time ago, back in the 90s and 2000s. But yeah. So the point being is that I think Spider-Man 2 is going to sell massive.
Yep.
Will it kind of taper off like The Last of Us Part 2 did? Maybe, but I don't know. I
Depends.
What's
The
the
holiday
consensus
season is
right
right
now?
around the
And
corner,
do we
and
know
plus
the
that new
budget?
PlayStation 5.
Do we know the budget numbers for that game? Because I know they
Good
were
question.
secretive about it with like The Last of Us 2 and all that until those court documents leaked. So I'm curious.
That's a good question. I don't know, Beardo, if you can look that up. And on the consensus side, so I did have this pulled up. So this is for comparison, and it's just Metacritic. But Metacritic, this is Super Mario Wonder. Critic reviews 93. User scores 9.2. Only 800 reviews, and when I say only 800 reviews, is because Spider-Man has 4,000 reviews, and it's at a 9.2
What?
or 9.
Wow.
Yeah, hang on, right here. So there's Spider-Man with 4,000 reviews, and it's got a 90 on Metacritic and a 9.1 out of 4,000 fucking reviews. That is astronomically high.
Mhm.
Like that, you cannot undersell that. As much as people are not liking certain aspects of it, and I know it's just Metacritic, but like when you have Mario Wonder, which is universally loved, it's got a 9.2, 800 reviews. Spider-Man 2 with 4 times the amount of reviews
That's
has a
crazy.
9.1. So the
Yeah,
consensus
insane.
is that people are loving Spider-Man 2. That's the consensus across the board.
No, I don't think there was. They would have really had to fuck this up
Yeah.
to make it to where people just didn't like it. They would have had to go out their way.
Yeah.
But yeah, the combat system to me is, if there was anything that I would have wanted to play it for, it would have been for all of that shit. I know other people care more about like cinematic shit and story. I'm gonna be honest, I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. Other than the characters being accurately portrayed, outside of that, I don't care as much as I do, because I'm playing a game. It's not a fucking movie. I'm trying to play the goddamn game. So seeing Beardo playing all the cool shit that he's able to do, that's pretty. It seemed to have built upon, though I didn't play it. I did play Spider-Man and the Miles Morales DLC. It looked to have added upon that, which the combat system was already pretty fucking solid after that.
I will say I'm still trying to find the let's see. Rumors are flying that Spider-Man 2 is the biggest budget ever given to. That's a movie. I'm not finding anything. It's so hard.
I don't even know. It's hard to find budget, like actual
video
budgets
games.
on
It
video
is.
games. It's very hard to find
I can't
budgets on
find it.
video games.
But I mean, Horizon Forbidden West and The Last of Us Part 2 were like over $200 million each for budgets.
Mhm.
So I would expect it would be more along those lines, which is
Mhm.
probably insane.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess the overall question is, Beardo, is it going to be Game of the Year?
It's going to be in contention. I think it's going to be in contention for sure. Obviously, I think Tears of the Kingdom will be there just naturally. Baldur's Gate, and then there's a few little sneaky games like Remnant 2 is probably going to be up there too, maybe in debate.
Loving
and then,
Remnant 2. Remnant 2 is awesome. I mean, when you get past that like Marvel style writing in the tutorial section, but once you're actually playing with your friends, fighting bosses, it is so fun.
Is that a looter shooter? What?
I mean, it's kind of Destiny-esque, but
Okay,
it's not
that's up
as
my alley then.
it's not as intense with the looting and all that kind of stuff. It feels more like, think of like almost Dark Souls meets looter shooter in a way, but less loot. Definitely some Dark Souls inspiration going on there, but it's a blast. My brothers and I spent hours fighting the second boss on nightmare mode, and we finally did it. And it was the most gratifying thing ever. So if you like
awesome.
co-op games with friends, that
I'm
is
all about that.
a great game.
Lies of P is obviously going to contend. I think Resident Evil 4 remake, it's probably won't be Game of the Year, but it'll get nominated for like, I don't know, like voice acting or
Well,
like
I told
that.
Rippa not to
Lies of
say
P
it.
is good.
I told Rippa not to say it. Rippa's on this whole Party Animals Game of the Year.
That's
even
it. That's it.
But I will say some just final thoughts about Spider-Man 2. It's probably got one of the most epic introductions to a superhero video game, maybe just a video game in general. Like the way they just throw you into this Sandman boss fight, this Titan God of War kind of.
It does feel like
boss
it's
fight.
got a very God of War feel to it. It's pretty cool.
To me, it is on par with God of War 3's opening when you fight Poseidon and you're on Atlas's back and you're fighting Poseidon just on Mount Olympus, and it's just like just this totally huge grand scheme of things, and it's like that is exactly how the opening to Spider-Man 2 felt when you're fighting Sandman. It's just throwing you in between just everything. It was really freaking awesome. And then yeah, man, the combat, like Ripa said, just like there'd be sometimes I'm fighting a horde of about 40 or 50 enemies, and once you finally clear it and you just kicked all their ass up, like you feel like, man, I wish there was 50 more. I could take on 50 more. And now it's just so fun. It's satisfying, man. It's oddly satisfying. Like as the first game, you can go in and just spend hours web swinging. It's just like almost like therapy. It's almost therapy. Just take your mind off of things. It's just like it's so oddly satisfying doing it, and that is still there in this game, but just the combat and the fighting, it's just like it just feels so damn good.
You know, you mentioned that, and sorry, Jeremy, you mentioned that.
Good.
And the one thing that is comparison between Mario Wonder and Spider-Man 2 is the movement in the game, and that's the one thing I think that really makes those games special. Is when you play a Spider-Man game, you want to feel like you're swinging. You want to feel that momentum. You want to feel that cast off of that web. And when you're playing Mario, you want to be able to move agilely, right? And Mario Wonder, if you think about it, way more than the quest. What are you doing most of the game? Moving. You're moving from place to place. So that movement has to feel good. And both those games have just ridiculously good movement in it. And it's just fun to watch. It's like Beardo watching you play. You know, get into the combat system is great as well. So
I personally think that Baldur's Gate 3 is going to win Game of the Year, just because of the overall reception to it. It just feels like, and I haven't played Baldur's Gate 3, but I mean, it's just it does seem like it topped Tears of the Kingdom from a perception and reception standpoint. I would have had Tears of the Kingdom there, but it's got to be Baldur's Gate. Mario Wonder is definitely a contender. I don't think it's going to win. I don't think they're going to give it to a 2D side scroller Mario game, but I mean, I definitely think it deserves it, but not at this point, not in 2023. But it'll be there. It'll be there for sure. But that was good discussion. Good stuff right there. So, Beardo, you want to read some of these super chats you're getting roasted in?
Yeah.
And then we'll go through.
Sure. Taker for 5. Pansexual. Anyone from and in love with the Florida Panhandle. Beardo. Non-binary refs. The new trend in sports. Their calls are never right nor wrong.
You know,
Sure.
did you see there's in the NBA, there's I think it's
trans referee, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
wow.
not
trans non-binary or something, like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's some weird shit.
Wow.
I
Check the
stopped watching
boxes.
the NBA years ago.
Jeez, man, that's just.
I saw
what
that
the
this
hell?
morning.
What the hell? It's just, it's. Anyway, I'm not even gonna say anything. So I keep the channel from not being in trouble. Rumble exclusive. Let me knock out a couple of the bigger ones real quick, so we don't have Krista here to keep up with. So Magnum Norris says Spider Queer sucks Dookie through a straw for 20. Thank you, Magnum Norris.
Clearly another person who hasn't played the fucking game.
Yours, no, but he did give us $20 so he can say whatever the fuck he wants.
Oh, thanks
You know,
for
I
that.
agree with
yeah.
him. I agree with him. I'm not no disrespect, but I agree.
George the Giant Slayer says, all hail to the amazing panel of geeks and gamers. Where's Canadian Bear? Onward and upward. He really wants you to wear the Canadian Bear, Jay. Jay, can you comment on that?
Thank you for the super chat, George. Congrats on your channel, man. It's doing awesome.
That's all.
Yep.
Was that George the Giant Slayer?
That was
See you
George
later.
the Giant Slayer.
I'm gonna have him on here in a couple of weeks. We're gonna do a little one-on-one on side scrollers. Looking forward to that. It's gonna be great.
Stephen Wasick for 20 says chat represents what RGT85 was talking about. Tribalistic cultist